Bonsoir, messieurs, dames. That wasn't a joke, but merci. 15 mousse au chocolat, papier hygiénique. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong list. It's an incredible privilege to work with people like Mathieu, like Kieran, not so much Mike, like Isabel, like Lola. Isn't Lola amazing? Honestly. So I have the privilege of working with people who are social entrepreneurs, who are educators, who are policymakers, who are change leaders, all working to empower young people to become like Lola. Not necessarily exactly like Lola, although a world of Lolas would be an amazing place. These are all people who are essentially working to empower young people as, what do we say in French, agent de changement ou agent de changer or something along those lines. In English, sometimes we call people agents of change or changemakers, or people who are living for the greater good, people who are making a positive contribution to society, who are making positive changes in their homes, in their schools, in their communities, and for the world. And that's essentially the common theme that I think connects all of these amazing and inspiring people. But not Mike. But what is a change maker? What is somebody who is empowered? It's certainly somebody who is empathic, and Kieran starts with empathy, and many of our change leaders in ASHOKA, in the global change leaders, are focusing specifically on developing empathy in young people, and often in developing empathy in very young children. How young do you work, Kieran? You start at the age of 6. We have people who are working from earlier years than 6. There's a very strong focus on the development of empathy. But there's also often a very strong focus on the development of creativity, because it takes creativity and resourcefulness to make positive change. Making positive change is difficult. It requires resilience and effort and perseverance. Making change requires multiple intelligences: social and emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-regulation. It requires thoughtfulness. There's a wisdom in making positive change. This is a very complex idea because the human being is, of course, incredibly complex. And one of the problems we have, we think, is in education we tend to simplify. We atomize the human being. We say it's all about literacy and it's all about numeracy. And if we've got time on a Friday at 11 o'clock, you can go and do something and hopefully everything else will follow. There's not a holistic approach. There's not a holistic approach to developing the whole complex human being, generally speaking. But there are people like our friends who are taking a more holistic approach to developing all of these many intelligences, all of these many sets of knowledge, skills, attitudes, values, character traits. Les traits de caractère. Can you say that in French? Yes, I'm doing okay. And there's a general belief in our network, of change leaders like these folk, and we now have here in Lyon 250 change leaders from 46 countries with us today here in Lyon. Hopefully some of them are in the audience. Hopefully at least one of you is in the audience. Who here has been with us today at the Global Change Leaders gathering? Great. Now put up both hands. Put up both hands if you're with us today, just so it feels like there are even more of us here. That's great. Lots of people. All of those people who raised their hands are essentially focused on empowering the whole person for the whole world. Empowering the whole person to live for the greater good. But more than that, they're focused on changing education systems so that the central focus of education systems is not getting kids through test scores and pushing them out the other end of school into jobs that might not exist tomorrow, but rather the focus is on nurturing the whole child from very early years, from zero. Maybe, in fact, I know some people are working from -9 months because, of course, our development starts at -9 months. And it's through our experiences from -9 months throughout our childhood and throughout our adolescence and continually, of course, throughout our adulthood that we develop these deep human qualities of empathy and creativity and all of those other things that are required to live for the greater good. And we develop all of those deep, complex qualities through the process of all of the experiences we have from -9 months all the way through childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. We develop these competencies through the experiences we have in schools, certainly, and many of our community are working in and with schools. But if I said to people here, where did you become empowered? Where did you find your empathy? Where did you develop your creativity and thoughtfulness and wisdom? I wonder how many of you would say that happened in schools. Possibly not so many. And so there's a real need for us, we believe, as a community, not to put all of the pressure on schools. We need to recognize that this can't just all rest with schools, this responsibility for empowering everyone to live for the greater good. Who here, actually let's do a very quick experiment, if we may. This is possibly going to go wrong, but let's try this. And I'm going to try this in French, so it is very probably going to go wrong. Si vous êtes un professeur, lavez-vous, s'il vous plaît. Oh, sorry, levez-vous. Sorry. Okay, stay stood up, please, s'il vous plaît. You folk, lavez-vous, lavez-vous. Stay up. Okay. You all influence the experience of young people. You all influence, whether you like it or not, the extent to which the young people that you work with or who you accompany. I love that, Isabel, that idea of accompanying young people through their childhood and adolescence. You all influence the extent to which the young people that you accompany through life become empowered. But who else does? Who here is another kind of educator? Are there any other kinds of educator in the room? Stand up if you're a parent. Who's a parent? Who's a grandparent? Actually, stay seated if you're a grandparent. Who's a grandchild? Sit down if you're a grandchild. Nobody sat down. Hang on. How does that work? No, sit down if you're a grandchild. Nobody is a grandchild. We don't do evolution in schools anymore, I think. We have an amazing, amazing community of change leaders in the Global Change Leaders, every one of whom is working systemically to help every young person become empowered to live for the greater good. But we often get accused of being utopian. Oh, this is kind of sci-fi fantasy that education systems could become these beautiful things, producing beautiful people like Lola. Not so much Mike. But it's not sci-fi fantasy, and there is an absolutely urgent need for this. We know this. We live now in a world of hyper-connectivity. I think I'm right in saying, who knows what the human population was 50 years ago? La population des humans. 50 years avant. I think it was something like 2 billion people or something. 3 billion, thank you. 3 billion people. Who knows what the population is now? 7.5 or something? Where's it headed to? At least 10 very soon. We live in a world of massive, exploding human populations. And it's all down to you French. We're bumping up against each other all the time. Urbanization and migration is a massive fact of life now. If you're not being a Lola, if you're not making a positive contribution, you're probably causing harm. And you'll be marginalized, probably. We live in a world of incredible complexity. Complex connections and complex decisions and dilemmas all the time. If you're not becoming this kind of person who is empowered to make change in a complex world, you're going to struggle to do well in this world. And we live in a world of incredibly accelerating change. We live in a world of volatility. A world of technological advancement and AI and AR and VR and V whatever those acronyms are. We live in a world of climate change and massive economic change, changing workplace, changing cultures and family life, and this rate of change is accelerating all the time. You need to become empowered in order to cope with this change. But more than that, you need to become empowered in order to steer or direct this change in a positive direction, make this inevitable change positive change. Everyone needs to become empowered. And we know it's very difficult to become empowered. What's the experience that you have to have? Many of our members are providing experiences of young people in nature that are empowering. People using art and culture and sport and civic participation and conversations to empower young people. But most of all, most of our members are focused on giving young people the very real embodied experience of making positive change. They're getting kids out of classrooms, putting them into communities, they're inviting young people to find problems that resonate with them as young people, and they're helping young people have the experience of making a positive change. And it's through that experience of making positive change that young people find their confidence and their skills and their inclinations to make more positive change. That's what everybody is doing. The GCL is a global community of people who are all aligned to transforming education systems into learning ecosystems in which the whole city, the whole community works together to provide every young person with the experiences that they need in order to become empowered, in order to make a positive contribution to the world. This is not science fiction. We are here in Lyon because we have some brilliant change leaders in our community who live here in Lyon, and I'm going to single out one in particular any moment, Angélique Figari. Where is Angélique? She's sitting down at the front. Angélique, not alone, always with her team, always collaborating, but Angélique is weaving together teams of change leaders in Lyon Métropole, including change leaders in Lyon Métropole at the political level and at the policy and administrative level, which is fantastic, by the way. There are not many cities where we have visionary politicians and administrators who are willing to experiment with this kind of idea. Angélique and her team are weaving together this approach to transforming the whole of Lyon Métropole into a learning ecosystem, and this is going to be terrible, territoire d'apprendre. I think I got that right. I would really encourage you, if you live in Lyon and want to contribute to changing the Lyon education system into a learning ecosystem in which all of us as parents, as teachers, as policymakers, as media actors, as employers, as unions, as universities, all working together collaboratively to transform the experience of learning, the experience of growing up for every young person in Lyon. If you're interested in doing that, this is Angélique's email address. Now I'm actually going to give this out. A. Point. F. I. G. A. R. I. At. E. D. U. F. L. O. W. .fr. Thank you. a.figari@eduflow.fr. Please get involved. Merci.
Ross Hall.